What's up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with some more Trails in the Sky first chapter remake news, I guess you could say, or videos. I have 5 videos pulled up. They're doing this thing. I don't know how many days they're going to be doing this for, but they're doing this thing where every day they release a video or several videos in the case of tonight. But 2 days ago, they released an Estelle introduction video. The 1 day ago, they did Joshua, and then tonight, like within the last hour, they did a Roland video. Roland introduction video with some characters. Roland obviously being where we start our adventure. And then Bose, the first town that we go to after Roland, they did an introduction video for that as well. And then they did a TV CM as well that we will go ahead and look at as well and kind of talk about what's here, because there is some interesting stuff that does spell changes for the remake, so it's not just going to be a one-to-one seemingly to the original, which we kind of already thought. They did say, Kondo himself said that, which we didn't really expect that this kind of stuff would happen until like second chapter and third, but he did say before that he was going to make changes so that stuff that happens later in the series makes more sense in the remake. So, like, something, for example, that I do think we are going to see in if you are new to Trails in the Sky, this will be kind of a spoiler for later in the series, but we obviously know when, after Sky second chapter, when Ren is kind of trying to get away from Ouroboros and Novartis, that Van is the one that helps her get into Crossbell. So I assume in Sky 3rd, we are going to see that, or they may even have it as like an end scene in Sky 2nd chapter with Ren getting away, maybe being in Van's car or, whatnot. I do think that they're going to add stuff like that, but there's really nothing in first chapter that really needs to be changed. Because there's not really too much that happens in Liberal in first chapter that really affects the other parts of the story yet. So I wasn't really expecting too many changes, but it does seem like there are going to be some changes. So let's just go ahead and go through these trailers real quick. I'm just going to play them outright. I can probably put the audio up a little bit. So obviously this is the Estelle trailer. This is obviously the early parts of the game where Cassius is basically, Cassius is going to go out of town, on a bracer job, and he wants Estelle and Joshua to kind of pick up some of his work in the meantime, and, they get started on their whole junior bracer stuff.
ずっと憧れていた仕事だろ。この程度でへこたれてどうするのさ。また一人だけで何か溜め込もうとしてるな。わかるんだってば、そういうの。勝手に自分のこと決めつけるんじゃないわよ。そんな時こそ大然と構えな。I
will say it is kind of funny that, pretty much all, as of right now, we only know of three or four. We only know of 3 current cast members, I believe, that are keeping their voice from the originals. In Japanese. In English, it seems like everyone who exists in the modern game, so to speak, basically any characters who have shown up in Reverie or the Daybreak games who are still around, have their voices in English, and the only ones in Japanese who haven't been recast, as far as my knowledge, are Zin, who we just saw here, and the simple reason, obviously, is probably because he is in both Daybreak games, and, obviously the upcoming Horizon he's going to be in because it's still in Calvard. Olivier still has his Japanese voice. I think it's just because Koyasu is such a big-time voice, and I just can't imagine them recasting him. And then Leela, who I think we'll see in one of these later trailers here, Leela, who is the maid for Mayor Maybell, we do see her in Daybreak 2. So obviously, I guess they decided to keep her voice because she's... So basically, any characters who show up in modern games before the remakes happen seem like they are going to be keeping their voices, outside of Koyasu, obviously, because he's just such a big name that I guess they just didn't want to recast him. I do hope they keep, obviously, for Lieutenant Lawrence, I'm using air quotes right now, for FC, I do hope it still is Midorikawa, because that is such an iconic voice actor that I just can't imagine anyone else voicing him. So I do really hope that they keep him as well. But, you know, let's look ahead. For example, obviously, I guess minor spoilers for Horizon. It's not really, if you've even looked at the poster of the game, Kevin obviously comes back in Horizon, and in Japanese, he had a new voice actor. So I assume that new voice actor is probably who will voice Kevin in second chapter remake and third remake. Ren, I'm really not sure what they're going to do with her, because obviously she's a lot older now in the Daybreak games, so they may get someone new to voice the younger Ren. We'll just see what kind of happens with that. But, like, for example, anyone who shows up, you know, in the follow-up game to Horizon, if they show up before second chapter remake comes out, then obviously I would assume that that voice is what's going to be used for the remake. But yeah. So go ahead and get through this. This game has so many, like, amazing cinematic... Like, look at all this. Everything just looks incredible with the cinematics they're doing. And obviously the battle... Because the battle cinematics, ever since we started with Daybreak, have always looked, you know, pretty great. Obviously, starting with Horizon is really where things felt like they were stepping up. But everything in this game just looks phenomenal. All right, let's move over to the Joshua trailer. Alright, we got Tita in the back there. This is obviously when they first encounter her in the mines outside of Zeiss. So I guess that was Joshua inside the base when they sneak in. We got Professor Alba right here. And of course, the thing that most people were waiting for, the play at Genus Royal Academy scene with Joshua in the dress here. And then of course Chloe and Estelle are fighting each other during the play. That's going to be amazing to see, and I do hope that the costumes from that play are actually unlockable. Like, after we do this scene, I hope all three of these costumes, because I just think it would be so funny to do a New Game Plus where you're playing as Joshua and you just have him in this the entire game. I just think that'd be amazing. Alright, and that's the Joshua trailer, so let's go ahead and move on to the third one, which is the Roland trailer. It just kind of showcases, you know, a look around the town of Roland, as well as some of the characters that are here. Barra Bend. You get the outside areas. This is obviously the farms that you get to go to very early on. This is brand new. You never do this in the original, so I guess, you know, you end up going north to go into those mines. I guess traversing the mines is going to be a little more adventurous now, because you have Estelle and Joshua in these minecarts, which is pretty cool. Little Cassius introduction here. Aina. Aina will obviously be helping us out while we're still in Roland. Professor Alba. And then, obviously, Niall. So Niall would have gotten recast anyway because obviously his old voice actor passed away very, very shortly after Scott, whatever lines he did for Sky Third. I don't know exactly how far after, but obviously the most likely reason why we haven't seen Niall, come back, obviously we've seen Grace as a reporter come back numerous times, but the main reason we obviously haven't seen Niall is because they probably just didn't want to recast him unless they had to, which is obviously now. So now, if they wanted to have Niall show up in a future game, they could definitely do so. Here's Dorothy, of course. And then Josette here. That's obviously the entire, Roland section, a lot of the important characters you'll see. So now let's move on to the Bose section. I'm just thinking of so many future events that happen in these towns. I'm just going to be so excited to see in full 3D. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about them here, but... Yeah, this is obviously Shara comes with them here. Bose is obviously where they first meet Olivier. Well, kinda. So this is a big talking point. ANELACE seems to be playable. Now, this could very well just be, she's the most likely scenario is she's just going to be a guest party member for a specific section. Maybe she's just a guest party member for the Bose section just to kind of fill out the party a little bit more than the original, to give players more options, but she very much has battle animations. Here's Grant. Mayor Maybell. Leela. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy that we are going to get playable ANELACE in first chapter, because before, in the original, I believe the only time you actually see ANELACE in a battle section in first chapter is when you're doing one of the later sections with the whole tournament section. I don't even remember if you do. I believe would be the only time you would actually see her duking it out with anybody. So this is a case where it seems like they are making changes, to kind of better things out. It'd be kind of nice, for whatever jobs you're kind of doing in the Bose section to have guest party members in that way. So, but we'll see what they kind of do with that. General Morgan. Kanone. And of course, Richard. Colonel Richard. And then we got one more to go through, which is just a 15-second CM. So let's go ahead and go through this. It obviously starts off during the tournament section when Joshua's fighting against Lawrence here. It looks like we're actually going to get cinematic, like, after the battle. Very, very cool. Ita, Richard. And you got Olivier talking in the end. So that's pretty much all we have right now with these 5 character, not all character, but these 5 trailers that have been coming out. We don't know how many days they're going to do this for. Obviously, this is the 3rd day in a row they're releasing trailers. So if they do another, bulk, if they do another 5 videos over the next few days, I will obviously make a second video, but I didn't want to make a video that was going to be, 30, 40 minutes long with me reacting to, or talking about, 10 to 15 different, minute-and-a-half clips. So this will just be the first one right here where we're kind of talking about some stuff, and then I will obviously do another one, if they do another handful of videos. So let me know what you guys think down below about everything that's coming out. By the way, they do have, I'm not going to pull it up right now, but they are doing English dub versions of these trailers. I think they're just doing them one day behind. So today, obviously 2 days ago was Estelle. So about 12 hours ago, they released the Estelle one in English. So I assume about 12 hours from now, as of recording this video, they are probably going to release the Joshua one, and then after that, they'll probably do all 3 of these. I don't know if they'll do the CM, but I assume they'll at least do these 2 in English. They'll release them, and then so on and so forth. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm very excited. We only have about 3 months and a week left until the release of the game. I'll obviously be doing a full playthrough on the channel, especially since now I know there are some changes being made, so it'll be fun to play through it. Obviously, we started doing trails on the channel, you know, over 3 years ago at this point when I first started doing my first chapter playthrough. So it'll be fun to kind of revisit it and see what is different in this remake as compared to the original. So that's going to be it, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe more if you're new to the channel. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.